Who's that? Oh,
Did you
is
go
he
to that
getting
thing
up?
for Birdie the other day?
Did you?
No, I was in Greenville.
I didn't
Trying
go.
to come back in time. I couldn't.
The Onslow County Board of Commissioners to order. Our first practice tonight will be a prayer led by our county manager, Mr. Hudson, and then we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance by David Cotton. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ladies and gentlemen, if you would, please bow with me in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we are taught that you are aware of all of our needs, whether we are a county or an individual. Tonight, dear Lord, 2 of our seats are conspicuously empty. Lord, we ask that you please be with the family of our county attorney, Ms. Moxley, and the loss of her father, Dr. Fogelman. We ask you please bless them with peace and comfort. And Lord, we give you praise for Commissioner Jarman's wife, Ms. Trixie, coming through quadruple bypass this afternoon. We know, dear Lord, that it's a tough thing, dear Lord, for someone to go through surgery such as that, but we know that you are in control, and we put our faith in you, dear Father, for her well-being. And Lord, I'm reminded that there are so many people that we don't know about. These are here among us, but how many other families are suffering loss or tragedy or heartache today? Lord, we just ask you to please be with our community. Help them, dear Lord. Help those that you know their names, but we don't. And help us tonight, dear Father, as a county and these commissioners to make wise decisions for the benefit of the citizens of the county. We ask your wisdom for the commissioners, and upon this gathering, we ask for your guidance. In Christ Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Mr. Cotton.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to thank everyone for coming tonight. If you have not turned your cell phones off, please do so now. We have several distinguished guests with us tonight. I'd like to recognize some judges that are here. Our Honorable Chuck Henry, Judge Moore, and Judge Cameron. Thank you so much, judges. I know you have a busy schedule. Also, along that same line is our District Attorney, Ernie Lee. Ernie, it's great to have you here. Our sheriff is here. Sheriff, we appreciate you coming, along with Becky Pollard and Lisa Brown, our clerk of court and register of deeds, respectively. We also have, from the Board of Education, we have Chairwoman Pam Thomas, and we have board member Earl Taylor. And I believe Judge Hardison just joined us, so we really have a distinguished group tonight. So thank y'all for coming. Thank you, audience, for joining us live. We have quite a few items on the agenda tonight. We're going to try to move through rather quickly, but we want to be thorough and transparent. There are just a few words of advice to those that sign up and wish to speak tonight. There will be 2 opportunities that the board affords the public to speak, public comment. The first public comment is for 3 minutes, and you must address your comments to things that are on tonight's agenda. The second will be for 5 minutes at the end of the meeting, and you can speak on any subject that this board has authority over. We ask that you sign up in the back of the room, and you will be called forward in the order that you signed up. When you reach the podium, please give our clerk your name and address, and make all of your comments directly to the board in its entirety. The board reserves the right to respond to commissioners' comments. We ask that your comments are civil and you do not promote a candidacy or a business. If everybody has had an opportunity to look at tonight's agenda, do I have a motion to adopt the agenda? So moved. Second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Everybody checked out the consent agenda? Any comments on the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second to approve the consent agenda? Second. All in favor, say aye. 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 Consent agenda passes unanimously. This comes to the first opportunity for public comment. At this time, Mr. Manager, do we have anyone signed up for the public comment?
We do, Madam Chair. This is the first public comment period. During this first public comment period, there is a 3-minute time limit. In accordance with the Board's rules of procedure, commissioners shall reserve responses, if any, for the commissioner comment period at the end of the agenda. All of the comments must be directly issue-oriented with the agenda items on for this evening's meeting during this first public comment session. The first individual that signed up to speak is Ms. Sherry Thurston of 326 Peru Road, Sneads Ferry. Ms. Thurston, you have the podium for a time period not to exceed 3 minutes.
Thank you. I'm scared now of all these judges. All I wanted to say was that I was sitting on the Sneads Ferry Community Plan. I was really proud to be part of it. And we did meet several times, and we thought hard over what was being discussed, and we're very proud of our community, and we want to make it safe and a good place to live. And so much is happening there with so much traffic. And so I am in support of this plan, and I just wanted to say that.
Thank you, Ms. Thurston.
Thank you.
The next individual that signed up to speak is Mr. Ron Munkoski, and forgive me if I mispronounce your last name, sir, of 204 Skimmer, Sneads Ferry.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good evening. Ron Mooncatch. I haven't stood at a console like this since I did the evening news. But in any respect, as a resident of Sneads Ferry for 10 years and the safety officer of Turkey Creek Fire and Rescue, we wish to express, and my own personal request, that the commissioners adopt the Sneads Ferry plan with everything that we've gone into with that. Our safety, the sanity of the community, and everything depends on you. We really wish that it is adopted and the zoning type of designs that were in there would be upheld. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, that's the last individual that signed up to speak this evening.
Okay. At this time, I'm going to ask, because Mr. Jarman is not here, he had left a letter on several items that are agenda items. So at this time, Mr. Manager, would you please read Mr. Jarman's comments into the records as they pertain to agenda items?
I will, Madam Chair. Thank you. August 14, 2015. To my fellow commissioners, I am sorry that I cannot be with you on this important day for Onslow County. If my wife Trixie were not having major surgery, you know I would be there with you. Tonight, this Board of Commissioners is taking several votes on things we have been working on for years. Even though I cannot be there and cannot cast a vote in absence of the meeting, I want to make my thoughts on these votes very clear for the record and for you all in attendance. Item 4B is the public hearing on the proposed installment financing agreement. Approved to borrow $57 million is absolutely necessary. We have already started the Dixon Middle and vehicle maintenance projects and have finished tearing down the old Halsey building where we are going to build the new Health Department and DSS building. This must be done. I am in favor of it. Item 5D, after the public hearing in item 4B, the commissioners took a vote on borrowing the money to do the projects we have started. This item 5D is a resolution that allows us to move forward with selling the bonds. I am in favor of it. Item 5E, as I understand it, we have the bids that came in on the new Health Department and DSS building. This sets the budget based on the bids we got, plus adds money for the furniture and equipment that the building needs. This must be done if we're going to move forward, and we've already told everyone, including the DSS employees in the New River Shopping Center, that we are. I am in favor of it. Item 5F, this is the contract to build the new DSS and Health Department in downtown Jacksonville. I have talked to Sherry Slater about this and am satisfied that the bid came in at a price we can afford with no tax increase. I am in favor of it. Item 5G, if there is one vote I wanted to be there for, it is this one. People, I am telling you that the Richlands Elementary School has got to be fixed. It has got to be done, and so has the courthouse. I talked with Judge Charles Henry, who I hope is there tonight. He can tell you what they have to deal with every day. I don't know what other judges may come. I hope Judge Hardison and others. I do hope each one of them stand in front of you and say what they face. We have been careful with our tax dollars. We have the ability to fix Richlands Elementary School and add on to the courthouse to help these problems. Commissioners, we have got to do this. I am on the record as being for these projects and moving them right now. I am 100% in favor of this resolution. Item 5H, I am in favor of hiring the architects and engineers to get going on the courthouse. I hope this makes things clear. In the past, it has been said that the county kicked the can down the road. That mess has to stop. When we know we have a need and we know we can afford to fix it because we have been wise with the taxpayers' money, we need to fix the problems that we find ourselves in. Not voting for these items does not mean that you are smart or wise with the tax money. It means that you just don't want to take hold of the responsibility you have to do what is right for this county. Ask the people in Richlands if they need a school. They need a lot more than that at the middle school and high school, too. Ask the judges and attorneys if they need a courthouse. You will learn the answer real quick. I do hope and pray that you all will stand with me to do what we need to do. I just hate like fire that I am not sitting there with you to raise my hand in support of these projects. Thank you for your prayers for Trixie. I know everything is in God's hands. I hope to be back with you soon. Sincerely, W.C. Jarman, Commissioner. Sworn and subscribed before Lakeitha S. Grayer, Notary Public, last Friday.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. If there are no further public comments, let's move the agenda item forward and have our first public comment, our first public hearing.
Item 4, public hearings. There are 2 public hearings scheduled during this meeting. The first public hearing is a public hearing that we would normally undertake regarding rezoning case, LREZ 2015-36. The second public hearing is a special or a rather unique public hearing dealing with proposed installment financing agreement. That one will follow a slightly different format. Under the first public hearing A, rezoning case, LREZ 2015-36, there will be a staff introduction by Mr. Ben Warren, the Planning Director, followed by the public hearing. After that, the applicant's statement. Members of the public would then be allowed to speak. The public hearing would be closed. Once the public hearing is closed, the item would be available for commissioner discussion and possible commissioner decision. Mr. Warren, please proceed with a brief staff introduction.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hudson. Good evening, Madam Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, Commissioners. The rezoning case that we have before you this evening involves approximately 25 properties that were formerly located within the City of Jacksonville's extraterritorial jurisdiction. In June of this year, the City Council voted to remove these areas from their extraterritorial jurisdiction, essentially placing those back under the county's jurisdiction. The functions that are involved with that really encompass planning, zoning, and building inspections. And at the time that the properties were turned back over to Onslow County, we assumed Building Inspections Authority at that time, and matter of fact, handled the 4th of July fireworks display at Onslow Pines Park. But in order for us to be able to handle the zoning responsibility, we first have to apply county zoning to the properties. So as right now, between the time that the City of Jacksonville relinquishes authority and the county assumes authority or applies zoning, it kind of falls in a state of limbo. So it's essential for us to move forward with applying county zoning to the properties. As I mentioned, there are 25 properties that are involved in the process, and I have a list of those properties in front of you. The first 24 are all located on Onslow Pines Road, and they were formerly zoned RSF 20 under the City of Jacksonville zoning. Those properties are all proposed to be changed to county rural agricultural zoning. And the last parcel, the 25th parcel, is located on Old Maplehurst Road, and it was formerly zoned RSF 7, and we were proposing that for county R15 zoning. To take a look at the zoning in the surrounding area, the properties that we have that are highlighted in the dark gray are the 24 properties that are proposed for RA. As you'll notice, the kind of bright yellow color that surrounds us on the east side are already zoned RA. Really, the only areas that are not zoned RA at this time are existing developed subdivisions. So the proposed zoning is consistent with the existing county zoning in the area, and also the RA zoning most closely approximates the former City of Jacksonville zoning on those properties. Additionally, we're proposing that the flight path overlay, which is the hashed area on the map in front of you, be applied to these properties. The city and the county flight path overlay standards are basically identical, so there'd be no additional impacts on those property owners. The last property, as I mentioned, is on Old Maplehurst Road, and that's the property that's highlighted in red on the map. And that property is adjacent to the Paradise Park subdivision, and we're proposing that for R15 to match the existing county zoning in that area. Just to take a look at the aerial view of the properties that are proposed for RA primarily consist of the Onslow Pines Park, the Onslow County Vehicle Maintenance Facility, got some vacant parcels and some single-family residential parcels. And the parcel that's proposed for R15 is an existing single-family residence. So we take a look at the two districts. The RA district allows a minimum lot size of 20,000 square feet with no maximum density, and the types of uses that are allowed are very similar in nature to those that were allowed under the previous City of Jacksonville zoning, and also are similar in nature to the Onslow County Park and Vehicle Maintenance Facility. So it would support any future growth or development of those facilities. The R15 residential district allows a minimum lot size of 15,000 square feet with a maximum density of 2 dwelling units per acre, and it's primarily established to stabilize established single-family residential neighborhoods, which is exactly what this parcel would do. And finally, as we look at the comprehensive plan, at the time the comprehensive plan was developed, these parcels were located in the City of Jacksonville ETJ, so they weren't considered for any future zoning changes. However, the guiding policies within the comprehensive plan basically promote uniformity, meaning that land uses that are similar in nature would have similar zoning, and that's exactly what's proposed. And the reasonableness and public interest, as I mentioned, the zoning districts that we're proposing are very similar in nature to those that were formerly the City of Jacksonville. So there'll be minimal impact as we transition to the county zoning, and also the zoning itself would accommodate future use and development of those surrounding properties. And the Planning Board has reviewed the proposed rezoning request and did make a unanimous recommendation for approval. With that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Hudson for the public hearing.
Mr. Hudson, open the public hearing, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this time, I'll open the public hearing for the LREZ 2015-36 rezoning case. There are no individuals that have signed up for the public hearing on this issue. Therefore, I'll make a call to the audience. If there's any individual that has not had an opportunity to sign up, but would like to speak regarding the LREZ 2015-36 public hearing for rezoning these properties that Mr. Warren has just described, you may come to the podium at this time. With no individuals signed up and no individuals coming to the podium, the public hearing is hereby closed. Madam Chair, this item is available for Commissioner consideration.
Very well. What's the board's pleasure?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions, any discussions?
Madam Chair, I do
Yes.
have one. And then the minimal impact, what does that consist of when you say minimal impact?
What we try to do when we're looking at a zoning change like this is to try to match the city zoning with the closest county zoning so that there will be a minimum impact on the properties. And what I mean by minimum impact is There are some very subtle differences between the city zoning and the county zoning, but those differences are so subtle that there really should be no felt impact by the property owners. There may be, in this case, really the RA zoning district has a few more uses that it allows versus the city zoning, so really no impact there. It would be more uses as opposed to the city zoning. But that's really the attempt by us, is to try to find the closest approximate zoning district, so there will be no felt impact by those property owners.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further? I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Madam Chair. That concludes item A of item, number A of item 4. Moving to item B, public hearing on proposed installment financing agreement. This is a public hearing for the purpose of considering whether the Board of Commissioners for the county should approve a proposed installment financing agreement and certain related documents pursuant to General Statute 168-20 as amended for the purpose of providing funds in an amount not to exceed $57 million with other available funds for the construction and other accomplishment of the project hereinafter described. The county would secure the repayment of it by monies advanced pursuant to such proposed agreement by granting a security interest in a portion of the project and certain related property. Members of the board, Madam Chair, this is a public hearing that must follow a slightly different format than the normal public hearings, as described by our bond counsel. So at this time, Madam Chair, would you direct the opening of the order of business public hearing on the 2015 limited obligation bonds?
Yes, Mr. Manager. I open the public hearing.
The public hearing is hereby opened. This public hearing was published in the Jacksonville Daily News not less than 10 days before the date of this meeting. A copy of the notice has been provided within the agenda materials. The Board of County Commissioners have received all agenda materials, including a copy of the notice. At this time, I will call upon the Finance Director of the county to describe the project as currently proposed and the current plan of the county to finance a portion of the cost of the project. Mr. David McCole, please describe the project.
Good evening, Board. The financing consists of 3 projects, the first being the vehicle maintenance building. It will be replacing a building that was constructed, a garage that was constructed back in the 1970s. The next building that the financing will consist of is a consolidated human services building, which will be where the Halsey building once was. And that will be eliminating the need for rental property, for renting the facilities to house our DSS employees. Dating back to 2004, we've paid a cumulative total of $3.6 million in rent to house our DSS employees in the various facilities throughout the city. And then the last project that consists of the financing is a Dixon Middle School, and it will be replacing a building that was constructed back in 1928, and it will free up space for the high school to look for future uses for that piece of property.
Mr. McCole, have you provided drafts of the necessary documents to the Board of Commissioners, including the installment financing agreement, the trust agreement, the deed of trust and security agreement, the agreement concerning Dixon Middle School, and the lease?
Yes, I have.
Commissioners, I believe you received those materials as part of your agenda package. Is that correct?
Yes.
At this time, the Board of Commissioners will immediately hear anyone who might wish to be heard on this issue. There's a sign-up sheet in the back regarding the installment financing agreement for today, Monday, August 17th, 2015. Once again, the notice for this public hearing was duly published 10 days prior to this evening's event. There are no individuals that have signed up to speak regarding the installment financing agreement at this time. With no individuals signed up, if a member of the audience did not have an opportunity to sign up earlier but wishes to speak regarding the installment financing agreement, you may come to the podium at this time. With no individuals coming to the podium and no individuals speaking, we will continue. Madam Clerk, has the clerk's office received any written statements from members of the public concerning this matter? We have not received anything. With input from the public having been received, this item is available for Commissioner action. Commissioners, during this, as this is a slightly different procedure that we must follow, all action of the board must be concluded within the public hearing, not following the public hearing this evening. Madam Chair, this item is available for Commissioner action at this time.
Very well. I'm going to ask if there's any discussion or any questions before I ask for a motion. Questions?
I have none.
Questions? Mr. McCole, will you come forward, please? I have a few questions. I want to make it perfectly clear that the funding for this money, these projects, is in the budget, our capital improvement budget. It is available at no additional burden on the property taxpayer at this time.
That is correct.
Thank you very much. At this time, I ask for a motion from the board.
So moved.
Do I second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, at this time, you may close the public hearing.
Very well. Mr. Manager, close the public hearing.
The public hearing is hereby closed. Thank you, members of the board. That was the first item necessary this evening if the board is to proceed on several projects. That concludes item 4, public hearings. Madam Chair, we are ready for item 5 if the board so desires.
Let's move forward with item 5.
Item 5, general items. Item A, Sneads Ferry Community Plan. Calling on Mr. Ben Warren, our planning director, who will be available to present this item and answer any questions the board may have. Mr. Warren.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hudson. It's with great pleasure that I stand before you this evening to bring the final draft of the Sneads Ferry Community Plan before you for your consideration. As you recall, this planning effort started back in early 2014, and it started as a joint planning venture with Onslow County and the Jacksonville Urban Metropolitan Planning Organization. And we started the process in March 14th with a kickoff meeting with the Blue Ribbon Panel. And from there, we held multiple Blue Ribbon Panel meetings and community open houses and workshops. And really the first step in the process was to establish a community vision. And so, as you'll see here, the vision or mission statement that was established at the onset of the process was that Sneads Ferry is committed to preserving its history and enhancing its community identity, natural resources, and unique features through responsible growth strategies, enhanced design standards, and improved facilities and services. The community recognizes the impacts that the local transportation system can have on its quality of life and advocates for improvements that ensure the safe and efficient movement of people and goods. The intentional integration of land use and transportation will support existing and future development and expand the local economy without compromising cultural and environmental resources. And one thing that I can say as we started this process was that you never know when you go into a community how they're going to respond to this type of effort. And looking at the diversity that comprises Sneads Ferry, you have so many different sectors of the community that make up Sneads Ferry. It was really unsure to us how they were going to respond to this effort when we first came into it, because so many different ones are passionate about so many different issues. And we found out early on that the community was very interested in the project and was very engaged. We had one of the highest turnouts in this project that I've experienced with any that I've been involved in at this point. And one thing that was apparent from early onset was that everyone realized there was a need for the plan and there was a spirit of cooperation from day one. And I think the last sentence in the vision statement really captures that, in saying that they want to expand the local economy without compromising the cultural and environmental resources. They recognize that there is going to be growth, there needs to be growth, but at the same time wanting to preserve the heritage and the environmental resources that Sneads Ferry has to offer. So that spirit really came from the start and continued throughout the duration of the plan. Basically what happened was, like I said, as we came together, we put the Blue Ribbon Panel and the community through various exercises to gather information. We did a lot of background information to identify known constraints, such as water and sewer and transportation, environmental, those types of factors, as well as community input as far as where they wanted to see growth, what type of transportation improvements they wanted to see, and various other factors. And then we put those into a computer modeling system that came up with 2 preferred land use scenarios. And once we did that, we scored those and took those back to the Blue Ribbon Panel and to the community. And what they did was they voted on which one of those they thought was most preferential for the end state or the future development of Sneads Ferry. And what you see here is the option they voted on. And this is the preferred land use scenario, which is very similar to our comprehensive plan's future land use map. And this is to guide development as we're going forward. For instance, land use decisions and other development decisions going forward. And what you can see is really the sentiment from the Sneads Ferry community is that most of the commercial type development should be centered around Four Corners and also extend along the corridor between Four Corners and the old Folkestone 210 intersection, and then also from Four Corners going east back to the base. And so really the prominent features are that commercial area, and then you can see along the waterfront areas, kind of the olive drab color. They said, you know, your environmentally sensitive areas to maintain conservation for those areas, and the areas directly behind that in your Duke blue color would be waterfront living type areas. And so once we came up with a preferred land use scenario, we started to dig deeper to find out exactly what that meant and exactly what the community wanted to see in the form of specific recommendations to carry their vision forward. And what they did was come up with 5 different areas they wanted to focus on. And the first action area was focused growth. And as you look at these, pretty much all of these different recommendations deal with land use regulations. There are several in here that deal with future changes to the Onslow County zoning ordinance. As we move forward with changes to the ordinance, there's some changes in here that would create overlay districts for areas in Sneads Ferry, some different environmental regulations that would apply to Sneads Ferry, and other things that would ensure that the vision is kept intact going forward. The second area is the working waterfront and environmentally sensitive areas. And really the goal here, as you saw on that future land use map, the area along the working waterfront was established for conservation. But what the community decided was conservation didn't mean that it was off limits to any type of development, but they wanted to carefully plan development as that area grew. And so one of the goals was to establish a zoning district that has special regulations that essentially created a holding zone that would allow a minimum number of uses. And if anyone wanted to do something outside of that, they could come back to the county and request a conditional rezoning, and the county could put special restrictions on that zoning to ensure that the environmentally sensitive areas are maintained. Action Area 3 deals with quality of life. And one thing the community recognized was the importance in the New River and the historical character of that area. And so they wanted to take efforts to recognize New River, providing areas such as walking trails, picnic areas, other things to give the youth and the community access to the waterfront, to promote a unified identity throughout the community, to really establish a brand for Sneads Ferry, and those types of things, a master plan for recreational facilities, things like ball fields and other things for the youth in the community. Action Area 4 was community engagement, and really this dealt with 2 areas. One was dealing with the county's website, wanting to be able to have access on the planning department's pages that provided up-to-date information on any type of zoning changes or other land uses that would impact Sneads Ferry community, and also to be able to have something that showed the status of the Sneads Ferry community plan going forward so they could track those changes over time. And the other thing was dealing with transportation. They wanted to, as you'll see in the Action Area 5, there's specific transportation improvements that they recognized for the area as part of the plan, but also recognizing the time and the funding that's part of those improvements, wanted to try to look for interim accelerated improvements to be able to deal with the traffic until we were able to realize some of those long-term improvements. And Action Area 5 was the transportation recommendations. And we dealt with bike or pedestrian facilities, roadway corridors, and roadway intersections. And as you can see, some of these are plans that are improvements that wouldn't take place for another 5, 10, 20 plus years. And so one of the big things was to advocate for interim improvements that would work to improve intersections and other traffic to keep it moving until these major projects could be undertaken. One thing that was recognized by the community through this process is that the Sneads Ferry Community Plan is really a guiding document. It guides how land use would occur over time throughout Sneads Ferry, but it also recognizes that it's dependent on funding, it's dependent on partnerships, it's also dependent on the community to take certain actions to move some of these forward. It's not something that falls squarely on the shoulders of the county, but it does require multiple partnerships with multiple agencies and community groups as well. And so it would be used kind of like our future land use plan or our comprehensive plan is now to guide that future development. What we did was the final document itself was about a 100-page document, and recognizing a lot of times that these types of documents, there's a lot of momentum, a lot of effort that's put in, but that big document kind of gets lost and it gets put on the shelf and gets forgotten about because nobody wants to dig through 100 pages to try to find the recommendations. And so what we did was we talked to the consultant to come up with basically a poster, and the poster will be a 17 by 22 in size, And this is what the front page of the poster looks like. It has the community's vision, the acknowledgements, and then the preferred land use strategy, and a breakdown of what that means. And then when you flip the poster over, the backside would show the recommendations broken down by focus area. And it's designed 17 by 22 so that you can fold it up into an 8.5 by 11 size. And when you fold it up, the Sneads Ferry Community Plan will be the face of the document, and the acknowledgements will be the back cover. And so, unfortunately, it's off to the printers right now for us to get copies, but just kind of, what the document itself will look like. I mean, it's a very, very colorful and attractive document. But like I said, all the recommendations are captured. The breakdown of the future land use is captured in a single document that can be folded up and put in a binder to easily carry around and to have easy access to. So with that, we did present this to our planning board, and they reviewed the document and did make a unanimous recommendation for adoption of the Sneads Ferry Community Plan. We also put it back out to the community and got great reviews from the community. The community felt like their desires and their wishes were captured in the document itself, and they were very supportive of the final draft. And so with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Warren. What's the board's pleasure?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I'd just like to say I appreciate the effort that the community put in putting this plan together. It's really good to use the citizens that's going to be affected by zoning and plans to take part in their own destiny of what they want their community to look like. I will say that the TIP for the MPO board that I sit on has got a long-range plan in the workings for 172 or 210 to 172 to be 4-laned, and from 210 to the high-rise bridge to be 4-laned, and also to, and this is down the road, but also make the high-rise bridge going over from Sneads Ferry to Camp Lejeune 4-lane overpass there. So I don't know what the timeline's going to be on that, and I guess it's depending on money and funding, but that is in the works, and it is on the TIP for that particular improvement. The only other thing is I've been getting some calls from some folks in Sneads Ferry about the need for additional boat ramps. They say that the boat ramp that was put in by the county and Wildlife Commission is just, people are really using it, and I guess you guys over at the planning board and the folks in Sneads Ferry hear about that all the time, but it seems like there's an overabundance for boat ramp and use of boat ramps and the fishing and so forth. And if that plan can move forward, that would be a big asset for Sneads Ferry. Other than that, thank you, Madam Chair.
Any further comments? I would just like to extend my gratitude also, not only to the people that served on the Blue Ribbon panel, but those individual citizens that participated. Each open house that we had, many citizens came, and I think they were a huge asset to the whole process. Thank you, staff, for the hours that you put into it. I believe any document of this caliber is a good guide for our government to know where and what we need to be moving towards. Unfortunately, funding is going to be the driving source, and even though Jack has mentioned 4 lanes and new bridges and bike paths, those are items that I would be skeptical that we'll see in the near future because of budgeting restraints. But it's always good to know what we need in the future, and we can always be cognizant of those needs. With that, I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Warren.
Item 5B, fiscal year 2016 holiday schedule. Dr. Megan Doyle will present this item. Dr. Doyle.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, Commissioners. As you know, Policy 701 in the Onslow County Personnel Policy provides for an annual adoption of a holiday schedule. We have provided a schedule for fiscal year 2016, which mirrors that which was provided to employees in 2015. And just as a reminder, the Board of Commissioners a few years ago kind of adopted a framework that indicated that in lieu of the recession as well as the inability at the time to provide market adjustments for employees, that additional holidays would be provided for a time. Once all employees had the opportunity to see their positions analyzed for market analysis, then this would be something that would be reconsidered. At this time, approximately 650 of our employees have not yet been analyzed. As an example, we have had some departments, significant departments, that have been analyzed. The Sheriff's Office is one of them, as well as the Health Department this past year, within the last 2 years, but there are still large departments which have not been looked at. DSS would be another example of one that has not been looked at. So at this time, we're asking for the adoption of a holiday schedule for fiscal year 2016. Again, this schedule represents a schedule that's the exact same as last year.
Okay, what's the board's pleasure?
Motion to approve.
I'll second that motion. Any discussion?
The only discussion that I have is that this is something that's very critical. And I think we're on schedule or on task. Is it by April or May of next year we'll be finished? Do we have a time frame, or
Yes,
am I
ma'am.
being
We
a little-
actually have probably 2 more years of market study to complete. We've studied approximately 550 to 600 of our positions so far, and we have another 650 to go, and it will probably take us 2 years to do that.
Okay. And I think it's only fair that those that had not been through the process, receive, and we be a part of this, so, absolutely so.
And I think we would like to thank those employees who have been patient and have seen other employees have their positions analyzed, and knowing that they have to wait for their turn. So have a motion and a second. All in favor of the holiday schedule remaining the same as the previous year, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, passes unanimously.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Item 5C, Onslow County Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan. At this time, I'll ask Mr. Norman Bryson, our Emergency Services Director, to present this item and to answer any questions of the board. Mr. Bryson?
Good evening, Commissioners. Before you have the pending adoption of the Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan. This is a 5-year plan that has to be reviewed, and it's federally required. The purpose of this plan is for a community to review its hazards that it may be posing to it, as well as identifying the risks those hazards may cause. And we also have to go through and look at what mitigation efforts that we can put in place to help reduce those risks. A fourth part that we have of the plan is also to look at the public education that we can provide back to the citizens with it. This is actually our 3rd revision of the plan. If it is adopted tonight, we have another 5 years before we have to go back through and revise it again. With this plan was presented back in November of last year before it was sent up to the state and federal government. We actually have approval back from North Carolina Emergency Management and FEMA from the plan. The reason it is a multi-jurisdictional plan is it contains 5 of the 6 municipalities that are in Onslow County, the 6th, which is a small portion of Surf City, that they actually, their portion of the plan is actually involved in Pender County section. So this evening, we're actually respectfully requesting that y'all consider the adoption of the resolution for approval of the plan.
What's the board's pleasure?
So moved.
A second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Passes unanimously. Thank you, Norm. Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item D is another one of the issues that we must use special procedure for, as this is part of borrowing limited obligation bonds by the County of Onslow. Madam Chair, staff is unable to present this item. It would take an introduction by one of the commissioners to present this item stating the name of the resolution.
Do I have a commissioner that would like to introduce it? What is the terminology that you need, Mr. Manager?
Madam Chair, it would be appropriate if a commissioner would be interested in introducing for consideration the resolution approving the proposed sale by Onslow County Public Facilities Company of limited obligation bonds payable from certain installment payments to be made by the County of Onslow, North Carolina, pursuant to a proposed installment financing agreement to finance a portion of the cost of various projects, approving certain documents and actions related thereto, and authorizing certain actions in consideration therewith.
Okay. And do I have a commissioner that would like to introduce that?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any discussion? Okay. Continue.
Madam Chair, did the board vote unanimously in favor of that item?
Yes, that was unanimous vote.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next two items are related to Consolidated Human Services, items E and items F. Item E will be presented by Ms. Sherry Slater, Assistant County Manager for Consolidated Human Services. On item F, Ms. Slater will be joined at the podium by Ms. Laura Jones, our Purchasing Director, who will explain another portion of item F. As we begin with item E, Consolidated Human Services Capital Project Ordinance Amendment, Ms. Sherry Slater, will you please present this to the board and answer any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Good evening, Madam Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, and Commissioners. This evening, I want to introduce the Consolidated Human Services Capital Project Ordinance Amendment. At its April 23rd, 2014 regular meeting, the board approved the Consolidated Human Services Capital Project Ordinance. This project consists of a building that will house the DSS programs from the New River Shopping Center and the Onslow Drive locations, as well as the Health Department staff and programs. The county has leased space for these programs since 1998. According to our financial software, which only allows us to go back to 2004, we have spent $3.6 million in lease payments for roughly a third of the staff in these departments to be housed. The project consists of two phases. Phase 1 began with the demolition of the Halsey building, which was complete in April of 2015. Also in Phase 1 is construction of a new Consolidated Human Services building, approximately 85,000 square feet in size. It will be constructed where the Halsey building once stood. Limited parking will be constructed in Phase 1 as well, and all current financing is associated with Phase 1 only. Phase 2 of the project will begin in March of 2017. After the Health Department staff have moved out of the old facility and into the new facility, that project is in the current planning phases right now and will begin after the Sexton and Health Department buildings are torn down. At that time, appropriate parking will be placed to provide adequate parking for all staff and visitors. We have begun the design of Phase 2 so that so that as soon as construction is completed on Phase 1, we can begin the construction of Phase 2. Funding for Phase 2 is included in the Capital Reserve Fund and will be a separate borrowing in 2017. This has already been planned into the capital construction model and is not scheduled to require any tax increase. This amendment to the capital project ordinance is to account for the purchase of furniture and equipment for the new building. And Commissioners, this will include medical equipment for all of the clinics, as well as the other furniture and equipment that will be needed for the facility. And I will be happy to answer any questions you might have at this time.
Sherry, the Sexton building's been vacated, right?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Over into DSS?
We have.
So that building's empty, ready for us to have that tore down, I would think, or getting close to it.
Yes, sir, it is ready. At this time, the plan is for that building and that lot to be used for construction laydown and a construction office.
And the other thing is, how much rent are we paying in New River?
Last year's total rent was $327,000 in New River. In addition to that, we have staff in another building on New Bridge Street that was, I believe, $39,000.
So approximately $366,000 in rent that we will be
Approximately.
getting rid of once we get into this new facility.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. What's the desired recommendation for the budget amendment? Is that what we're needing at this point, Jeff?
Madam Chair, the specific action requested is to respectfully request the Board of Commissioners consider approval of the Consolidated Human Services Capital Project Ordinance Amendment.
Ordinance amendment.
Yes, ma'am.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Commissioners.
I'll ask Ms. Slater to remain at the podium. Ms. Laura Jones will present the next item, but Ms. Slater, if you could also be on standby if there are any questions. Ms. Jones, will you present item F?
Sure. Good evening, Madam Chair and Commissioners. As Ms. Slater was saying, the project is to be completed in phases. Phase 1 included the demolition of the Halsey Building, and it also includes the construction of the new 85,000 square foot facility where the Halsey Building once stood. The county pre-qualified contractors for the construction of the new Consolidated Human Services Building. There were 7 companies that were qualified to bid on the project, and bids were solicited and received in accordance with North Carolina General Statutes 143-129. The county received 6 bids. The lowest responsive bidder is Clancy and Thays Construction Company, and they're located out of Wilmington, North Carolina. Attached, you'll find a contract in the amount of $14,747,620 to complete Phase 1, which includes the construction of the building and limited parking. After the construction is completed, that's when Phase 2 will begin, and that'll include demolition of both the Halsey, the Health Department and the Sexton Building, and provide additional parking. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Laura, at this time, we're only voting to award the contract for Phase 1, which also includes the demolition, or is that a separate?
The demolition of the Health Department and the Sexton Building will be in Phase 2.
Very well.
Tonight, the contract is for the construction of the facility.
Very well. What's the board's pleasure?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. For clarification for the record, Commissioners, I do want to note, as Ms. Slater and as Ms. Jones said, Phase 2, which would include the demolition of the Health Department and the Sexton Building, that actually would not start until 2017, which is too far into the future for the Commissioners or for the county to borrow money for that project at that time. And that would include both the demolition as well as construction of basically the rest of that county property into parking. All of the property that the county owns, which is considerable on College Street, would be reconfigured for parking and for that new Consolidated Human Services building. But in 2017, the Board of Commissioners will be approached again in preparation for Phase 2.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. I'd also like to add that even though 2017 is rather far in the future as far as awarding a contract, we do have conservative bids, and the estimated cost is within the capital improvement budget. Is that accurate?
Yes, ma'am. We have projected construction costs, and the Capital Reserve Fund has set aside funding for Phase 2 that would occur in 2017 to handle the parking and the demolition of those 2 buildings already.
Thank you, Mr. Manager.
Yes, ma'am. Item G, progressing necessary infrastructure projects. There will be multiple presenters in this item, Madam Chair. With your permission, I will begin the presentation.
Please do.
Item G, progressing necessary infrastructure projects. Through conservative financial practices, Onslow County government has established capital reserve funds for both general government and public education. I would like to add that there are two separate capital reserve funds, one for general government, which includes the projects that we've talked about this evening so far, and also one for public education, which did include one project that we talked about, and that's Dixon Middle School. 2 planned capital projects within the capital reserve funds are a replacement for Richlands Elementary School and renovations and expansion of Onslow County Court facilities. Now, these are 2 new projects that we're talking about now. Both projects have been anticipated for years, and the capital funds have capacity to pay for the projects with no immediate increase in taxes. A resolution has been prepared which further explains this agenda item. With your permission, Madam Chair, I will read the resolution into the minutes, and it does have a lot of detail. also present to present to the board regarding this issue following the reading of the resolution into the minutes are representatives from the judicial system and the Board of Education.
Read the resolution, Mr. Manager.
Resolution 15-017, progression of necessary capital projects. Whereas through conservative fiscal practices, Onslow County government has established capital reserve funds for both general government and public education, and whereas, beginning in 2009, Onslow County government began saving money to construct necessary infrastructure to provide mandated and necessary services for the citizens of Onslow County, and whereas Onslow County is in excellent financial condition, having received its highest bond rating of AA by Standard & Poor's, and whereas 2 planned capital projects within the capital reserve funds are a replacement for Richlands Elementary School and renovations and expansion of Onslow County court facilities, as more fully described in sections 1 and 2 below. Section 1, in regards to replacing Richlands Elementary School. Whereas the joint public education funding policy of the Onslow County Board of Commissioners and Onslow County Board of Education that was unanimously approved by the Board of County Commissioners on March 21, 2014, approved the design of a school in the current fiscal year 15-16 with construction to begin in fiscal year 16-17, and whereas the existing Richlands Elementary School was originally constructed in 1928 and requires replacement, and whereas on July 18, 2007, Onslow County deeded 30 acres of county property with a current tax value of $600,000 on Cowhorn Road for the construction of the replacement school, and whereas growth patterns in the Richlands Township have proven it to be an area of high residential growth with the highest level of parcel creation within any township over the past 2 years, and whereas constructing a new Richlands Elementary School will have a multi-school impact by relieving student population pressure at Richlands Elementary, Truxer Middle School, and Richlands Primary School. And whereas the Onslow County Board of Education has demonstrated the prudent and responsible ability to meet the needs of the Richlands area by replicating prototype elementary schools, which speed construction time, eases permitting, and results in reduced cost to the taxpayers of Onslow County by lowering professional fees. And whereas the Onslow County Board of Education, through the Joint Public Education Funding Policy, has agreed to build a large 800-student capacity replacement elementary school. Section 2, in regards to renovating and expanding court facilities. Whereas court system officials, including Superior and District Court judges, the Clerk of Superior Court, the Register of Deeds, the District Attorney, as well as the Sheriff of Onslow County, have all advised the county that additional courthouse space is necessary to accommodate the rising demands on the court system, as well as to create a safer court environment. And whereas through demolition of the old county jail, space now exists to create additional court facilities. And whereas the county spends significant amounts of money annually to rent facilities in downtown Jacksonville due to a shortage of government-owned facilities, and whereas the Summersill Building District Courthouse is in need of renovations to accommodate modern court proceedings and to repair damage to the building structure, and whereas upon careful evaluation of the county's capital reserve funds and financial position, the finance advisors of the county and the county's chief financial officer have reported that Onslow County is able to replace Richlands Elementary, as well as renovate and construct court facilities with no immediate tax increases. And whereas delays in construction may lead to rises in interest rates, unfavorable construction bid climates, and higher cost. And whereas Onslow County's construction project workload is diminishing with the successful completion of multiple construction projects, including the 800 megahertz emergency radio communication system, the Sneads Ferry Environmental Education System and Public Library, the Onslow County Government Center, and the Albert J. Ellis Airport Terminals. And whereas consolidating the financing of both the court and school projects are estimated to save the taxpayers of Onslow County between $200,000 and $250,000 in financing and other fees and charges. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners for the County of Onslow hereby approve the Onslow County Courthouse Construction Project Ordinance, the Onslow County Richland Steed Park Elementary School Project Construction Project Ordinance, and the resolution of the Board of Commissioners for the County of Onslow, North Carolina, declaring its intention to reimburse said county from the proceeds of one or more tax-exempt financings for certain expenditures in connections with two projects, which are attached and incorporated fully herein by reference, and authorize the chairman to sign the documents on behalf of the county. Be it further resolved that the Board of Commissioners respectfully request that the Onslow County Board of Education proceed immediately with design, permitting, and bidding of the replacement Richlands Elementary School, with any construction payments to be due no earlier than county fiscal year 2017, as per the unanimously approved Joint Public Education Funding Policy, adopted this the 17th day of August 2015. Attached, resolution of the Board of Commissioners for the County of Onslow, North Carolina, declaring its intention to reimburse said county from the proceeds of one or more tax-exempt financings for certain expenditures in connection with two projects. Whereas the County of Onslow, North Carolina is a political subdivision organized and existing under the laws of the state of North Carolina, and whereas the county has paid beginning no earlier than June 18, 2015, and will pay on and after the date hereof certain expenditures in connection with constructing new courtroom facilities adjacent to the existing courtroom facilities and new jail of the county, including the construction of a new building of approximately 40,000 square feet to house new courtrooms, judges' chambers, jury rooms, and associated spaces, and the construction of secure parking areas for judges and staff, and renovating the Summersill building in connection therewith, the county project. And whereas the county or the Onslow County Board of Education, hereinafter the Board of Education, has paid beginning no earlier than June 18, 2015, and will pay on and after the date hereof certain expenditures in connection with constructing new public school facilities to replace the existing Richlands Elementary School, including the construction of a new building to house approximately 800 students, the construction of parking areas for staff and visitors, and outdoor play areas for students, and the acquisition of furniture, technology, and equipment, therefore, the school project. And whereas the Board of Commissioners for the county, the board, has determined that certain monies previously advanced by the county no earlier than June 18, 2015, and to be advanced on and after the date hereof by the county or the Board of Education to pay such expenditures are available only for a temporary period, and it is and will be necessary to reimburse the county for the expenditures from the proceeds of one or more tax-exempt financings of the county in the form of one or more installment financings that are expected to be authorized by the board. Collectively, these are the tax-exempt financings. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the board as follows. Section 1. The board hereby declares the county's intent to reimburse the county with the proceeds of the tax-exempt financings for the expenditures made on and after June 18, 2015, which date is no more than 60 days prior to the date hereof. The county reasonably expects on the date hereof that it will reimburse the expenditures with the proceeds of the tax-exempt financings. Section 2, each expenditure was or will be A, of a type properly chargeable to a capital account under a general federal income tax principles determined in each case as of the date of the expenditure, and B, a cost of issuance with respect to tax-exempt financings, and C, a non-recurring item that is not customarily payable from current revenues, or D, a grant to a party that is not related to or an agent of the county or the Board of Education, so long as such grant does not impose any obligation or conditions to repay any amount to or for the benefit of the county or Board of Education. Section 3, the maximum principal amount of the tax-exempt financings expected to be entered into with respect to the county project is $17,289,000, and the maximum principal amount of tax-exempt financings expected to be entered into with respect to the school project is $27,911,000, plus such additional amounts, if any, as shall be determined to be reasonably necessary for the funding or payment of cost of entering into the tax-exempt financings. Section 4, the county will make a reimbursement allocation, which is a written allocation by the county that evidences the county's use of proceeds of the tax-exempt financings to reimburse an expenditure no later than 18 months after the later of the date on which the expenditure is paid, or the county project or the school project, as may be applicable to the expenditure, is placed in service or abandoned, but in no event more than 3 years after the date on which the expenditure is paid. The county recognizes that exceptions are available for certain preliminary expenditures, cost of issuance, certain de minimis amounts, expenditures by small issuers based on the year of issuance and not the year of expenditure, and expenditures for construction projects of at least 5 years. This resolution shall take effect immediately upon its passage. The courthouse construction project ordinance is for an amount total of $15,700,532 and is attached and is incorporated fully herein. The Richland Steed Park Elementary School construction project ordinance is in the amount of $25,344,251 and is attached as is incorporated fully herein. And as a side note, Madam Chair, members of the board, I would note that the title Richland Steed Park Elementary School Construction Project Ordinance is not necessarily the title of the school. That is simply the title of the legal document that is attached to the resolution. So we would not presume to tell the Board of Education what to name the school. It's just a project ordinance. Madam Chair, that concludes reading into the record the entirety of the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. At this time, would you call forth anyone that would like to address the board, reference these two projects?
Yes, Madam Chair. Following the sections of the resolution, first I would ask if any member of the Onslow County Board of Education is here to speak regarding this matter. Please state your name and title. You may come to the podium. There is no time limit.
Thank you. Pam Thomas, Onslow County Schools Board Chair. Madam Chair and Commissioners, Mr. Hudson, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to address you this evening. The Board of Education and probably all of the Richlands community were quite pleased when they read the paper yesterday about the projects that you would be discussing this evening, particularly because they're planned, they're needed projects, and these infrastructure needs will not go away over time. So if you decide to approve this proposal, we understand that these projects will begin this fiscal year. And I can assure you, if you do vote in the positive for them and give us the nod at the Board of Education, our Assistant Superintendent, Steve Myers, who's in charge of auxiliary services, has said that we could go forward with the RFQ immediately, probably within 10 days. Of these projects, talking about the replacement school for the Richlands Elementary School, you know that this is very much a needed facility. We have an aging, almost 90-year-old school that we're operating in now, and is quite challenging for the maintenance and upkeep on a daily basis. So if we could go ahead and build the Richlands replacement school at Steed Park, we would have a cost savings of those particular maintenance fees at an earlier time available for us for other things. Also, this is a replacement that will allow us to combine and have a K-5 school at the primary school, as well as a K-5 school at the Steed Park School. That will allow us to address early on the overcrowdedness of the elementary situation in the Richlands area. You are aware that we've already done a redistricting for some of the overcrowdedness at the middle school as well as at Richlands High School. Once the building for Richlands, the existing Richlands Elementary occurs, we will utilize part of that newer facility to help with the overcrowdedness at the middle school. And I assure you that while we are trying to do the best we can with the overcrowdedness of all of our sites, we understand that any solution we do is a short-term one, depending on the completed number of students that we have here. We know that building these schools early is going to allow us to save money in the long term. And I'd just like to digress a second and share some information with you about the cost of building for the last 10 years. When we built Meadowview Elementary in 2007, its final cost was $16.5 million. 2 years later, 2009, the cost for stateside was $18.7 million. And as Mr. Hudson said the projected cost for the Steed Park School is going to be about $25 million. So the data shows that construction costs continue to rise. And no matter what projects that you have on your plate, you know the sooner you can get them out of the gate and get them started, that you're going to save a lot of money in the long term. So the key to us as a Board of Education is that we will be able to address the overcrowdedness in the elementary school sooner. We also will save some money that will allow us to hopefully address the commissioners if we come under bid with what we could do with some of the money that may be left over to address some of the other building needs we have in that area. I think it should be noted for the public, and it's been said several times this evening, that this is of no cost as a tax increase to the citizens of Onslow County. And so I commend you for having the forethought to have your capital reserve plans long ago. I think that I would be remiss if I didn't say, as a taxpayer, I applaud you for having the foresight to develop a strategic plan, to structure a timeline in which you would like to accomplish certain things during that time, and that you have held steadfast to that. And because of it, we are seeing the wonderful things that are happening in Onslow County, and we are on the map. People are looking at us for economic development. They're looking to make their homes here. So I think the more that we do to put money back into our county shows how much we value what we're doing and the quality of life for Onslow. I really appreciate you considering my comments on behalf of the Board of Education as you deliberate your decision. I certainly believe personally that to adopt it would be wise, and I know that it certainly is a prudent physically decision for you to make. Thank you. I appreciate this so much.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. Mr. Manager, do we have someone else that would like to present to the board?
Madam Chair, first I would ask if there are other members of the Board of Education that wish to present. If not, I would call on members of the judicial system. If any member of the judicial system, I can't talk, would like to present, now would be the time. And Your Honor, you're not limited in time either, obviously.
Please state your name and address.
That would be great. Good evening. Thank you very much, Madam Chair, members of the commission. It's my pleasure to be here tonight. And joining me tonight are Register of Deeds Becky Pollard, Clerk of Court Lisa Brown, District Attorney Ernie Lee, and District Court Judges Jim Moore and Matt Cameron. I believe Sarah Seaton, did she show up? Anyhow, I left Judge Seaton in Clinton around 5:15, and she was still there, so that could be the reason why she couldn't make it here tonight. And also Chief District Court Judge Paul Hardison. All of us are here, as well as some members of the Onslow County Bar and Trial Court Coordinator Robin Bright, to lend our enthusiastic support for this resolution for the creation of additional courthouse space. The Summersill building, which houses primarily the district courts, the offices of the clerk of court who support the district courts, Civil Superior Court, the clerks that support that court, and the Register of Deeds, was constructed and opened around 1978. Mr. Buchanan, Mr. Wright, you may be able to correct me on that, but I think that's the date. That was 37 years ago. I was able to estimate that the county's population at that time was about 135,000. According to the North Carolina Office of State Planning, but I'll defer to Mr. Hudson, our county population has grown to about 193,000. This is about a 43% increase in our population since the opening of the Summersill building. We are now, of course, as you well know, I guess the 11th largest county in the state. I don't want to inundate you tonight with a bunch of numbers or statistics in support of the need for additional courthouse facilities, but I'm going to address pretty much the Superior Court and defer to Chief Judge Paul Hardison. Just gave him a promotion to speak with regards to the district courts. I tried to find out what our court dockets were like back in 1978, but I found the Administrative Office of the Courts only goes back to 1985. but which is about 7 years after the Summersill building was open. In that year of 1985, we had 967 felony filings in criminal superior court. During the last 5 fiscal years, ending in fiscal year 2014, in Onslow County Criminal Superior Court, we have averaged 1,669 Superior Court felony filings, an increase of about 73% over the filings in 1985. Our Superior Court civil filings have increased during that same time period from 229 filings to an average of 341 filings during the last 5 fiscal years ending in 2014, about a 49% increase. In looking at the estates and civil proceedings, which is handled basically by Ms. Brown's clerks, in 1984 they had 1,200 filings. In 2013 they had 4,500 filings, an increase of 375%. In each one of these cases, whether it's district court or superior court, requires the clerks to create a file, collect all the documents related to that proceeding, and collect all the final orders and judgments, record it, and retain it in some form. Right now, presently, in criminal superior court, we have 1,274 pending cases, and we have 260 civil superior court pending cases. Now, the criminal superior court, of course, is held in the old courthouse. We hold about 47 terms of court per year of criminal superior court. Civil superior court is held in one of the courtrooms of the Summersill building. This means that every time we hold a term of civil superior court, we have to utilize a courtroom that ordinarily would be used by the district court. Ideally, our caseload would accommodate 2 superior court terms per week, with 2 weeks each month holding 2 criminal superior courts, assuming appropriate staffing. But Onslow County is somewhat unique. For Superior Court, it is a single county judicial district with 1 Superior Court judge. If you travel to the north to Judicial District 3B, which is made up of Craven, Carteret, and Pamlico counties, which, according to the 2010 census, had 183 inhabitants, compared to Onslow County's 177,000 inhabitants, they have 3 Superior Court judges to our 1. To our south is Judicial District 5, which is made up of New Hanover and Pender counties. These 2 counties together have a population of about 255,000, using the 2010 census, and they also have 3 resident Superior Court judge. I would submit that any planning for the future should take into account the probability that Onslow County will have a 2nd Superior Court judge and thus the ability to hold 2 Superior Courts each and every week, assuming, again, appropriate staffing and additional court space. So during a regular month, we'll have 8 Superior Courts going on at any one time, 6 being criminal, 2 being civil, again, if we have the staffing and the facilities. I want to compliment all the clerks, the prosecutors, the members of the Onslow County Bar who have worked very hard serving the people of this county in the present facilities. They serve with this distinction, and I appreciate all that they do. But the need for additional space, personnel, and assets is clear. But let me tell you, if I may, as an aside, it's not all about the numbers. I want to take just a minute to talk about a topic that is not quantifiable, but is just as important as the numbers and the statistics. That is the quality of justice in our county and the effect that backlogs, crowded dockets, inadequate staffing, and limited resources have on the quality of justice. In 1904, the county commission at that time consisted of 3 people. They voted and constructed the new courthouse down on Court Street. We now call it the old courthouse. Over the front door, they prominently engraved the words "equal and exact justice for all." This is a quote from Thomas Jefferson's first inaugural address in 1801. He deemed justice the essential principle of government. He considered justice to be the fundamental law of society. Tonight, similarly, we took the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, and it concludes with "and justice for all." the same language that's on the facade of our courthouse. We understand the meaning of equal and exact justice for all is that everyone who turns to our courts to settle a dispute or is summoned into court to answer to a complaint or commanded to answer to criminal charges is entitled to their day in court. They're entitled to a full, fair, and unencumbered opportunity to be heard before an impartial judge or jury. These are their due process rights. This is the commitment and promise that those commissioners at the turn of the century made to the citizens of this county. This is the same promise and pledge we made tonight when we pledged to the flag. With ever-increasing caseloads and crowded courtrooms, accompanied by delays and longer and more complex judicial proceedings, it is more difficult to keep that promise that was made to the citizens back in 1904 and what we made here tonight. We cannot expect that everyone who leaves the courthouse will be happy or pleased with the outcome, but they expect and should rightfully receive a full measure of justice, a full opportunity to present their case. We only can meet this high standard set by your predecessors and reaffirmed here tonight with adequate facilities and sufficient staffing. We ask for your favorable consideration of this resolution. I want to thank you very much for this time. I'm going to defer to Judge Hardison, who will speak to you about the district court and their function and situation at this time. Judge Hardison? With your approval, of course. Thank you.
I'm not going to argue with you, Judge.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Paul Hardison. I'm the Chief District Court Judge for the 4th Judicial District, which includes Onslow, Jones, Duplin, and Sampson counties. In reference to the resolution tonight, Madam Chair, other commissioners, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to briefly speak with you. Judge Henry has covered most of the concerns that we have. I'd like to also just provide you with some information regarding the civil division of our court. As of August 17, 2015, we've had 3,268 civil cases filed. And as a matter of fact, 9 of them I addressed this afternoon at 4 o'clock. There were 1,885 small claims cases filed to date so far. Now, these cases in civil court, civil district court, there are a number of cases. Some cases are appealed from small claims. Other cases may be civil actions for suits for monies or other actions. A lot of these suits entail civil actions involving the marital division of law. And just by way of some small numbers, 2014, there were 1,110 ex parte domestic violence protective order restraining orders addressed, 1,537 divorce cases, 1,964 summary judgment ejectments, 2,725 money owed cases. And this week alone, we have an administrative court. Every Friday or on designated Fridays, the district attorney has designated a day where individuals can come to court and discuss with the assistant district attorney a method in which they can resolve this matter without appearing in court. There will be over 780 scheduled for the next administrative session. You will be able to come by and observe how many people you will see standing in the hallway, because these people cannot fit into the courtrooms. Often we find situations where individuals, the judge will have to remove individuals who are there for moral support because we cannot get all the litigants and the witnesses in the courtroom. In addition, the way this courtroom was designed, it was designed initially for a smaller group. We have 3 areas in the back. One is shared by the judicial assistant, Ms. Bright, and there's a judge's chamber, so those offices are combined. On the other end of the hallway, there is another judge's chamber and a small chamber. There are no spaces for the attorneys to speak with or meet with their clients to have any discussions or deliver or try to resolve any issues. And also, as far as the parking, we do need to address that because the judges park in the front with everybody else. So you may be getting out of your car and meeting someone who may or may not be happy with being in court that day. In addition, you will find in these situations where the judges often come in, you will come in one door and you end up going up the stairway or in the elevator with those individuals who may or may not be satisfied with being in court. And so another concern we have is security. And we've discussed this with Mr. Hudson and Sheriff Hans Miller, and they are discussing areas and ways in which, through this financing project, we can help address some of these issues. Again, I do not want to belabor the point, but we certainly thank you for the opportunity to be here. I would like to ask the rest of our judges to please stand. Judge Moore, Judge Cameron, and we're here in support of this project, and we certainly thank you for the opportunity to be here, and we ask you for your consideration in adopting it. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Hardison. I would like to extend an opportunity to Judge Moore or Judge Cameron if you'd like to come forth to reiterate or to make a comment, or if you're satisfied with it as it stands, that's fine too. Very well. Ms. Pollard, I would extend the same opportunity to you and Ms. Brown after the judge is finished, if you'd like to come forth and speak. I'm sorry, Judge, please go.
My name's Matt Cameron. I'm one of the district court judges, and thank you so much for the opportunity. Just to reiterate what Judge Henry and Judge Hardison have said, the Summersill building was a giant step forward in 1978. It replaced a small courtroom on Mill Avenue that was located above a liquor store. And that was our district court, and we went from that facility to a modern, at that time, huge Summersill building. It was a grand day. My legal career started a year or so after that, and I got out of law school and walked into a beautiful new building. And that building, like me, have showed a little age over the years. But the great thing about this that I would just like to add to what's already been said is that building some new courtroom space, which this would allow, would give us the chance to modernize and rethink how we use the Summersill building. The Summersill building has served us well, but it was built in a different time, and the demands on the court system, the expectations of our citizens about what they expect in court has changed greatly. And Onslow County, as the judges have mentioned, often has about 50,000 filings every year, new filings, new cases. Now, they may be traffic tickets, they may be murder cases, but you're dealing with having to get rid of 1,000 cases a week to keep up. And to do that in a fair way with the quality of justice that Judge Henry mentioned is increasingly harder and harder. And the facilities could be tweaked and updated in a way that would help us do that. And the idea of rethinking some of the Summersill space, I think, is just as important as the new space that would come from any new building. So I would again thank the board and urge y'all to give it consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Cameron. If there's any further, Ernie Lee, Sheriff,
Judge Moore.
Judge Moore.
I'll just echo, my name is.
Please come to the podium.
That's so you can be recorded.
We want everybody to see your pretty face.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman. I would just echo what Judge Henry, Judge Hardison, and Judge Cameron have indicated. There's a great need for the additional space. We have terrific support personnel throughout the courthouses. They provide terrific work for us on a daily basis, but we still have a need in regard to servicing the public. As Judge Henry has indicated, justice for all, and we do see a lot of impatience, a lot of unsafe situations in regard to the overcrowding, and this would give us an opportunity to alleviate that. And I would just suggest that any new additions take into account the ability for us to securely move, from one courthouse, one facility to the other, so that we are insulated to some extent, including all the personnel, from the public, depending upon the nature of what it is that we're dealing with. But thank you so much for your consideration.
Thank you, Judge Moore.
Thank you, Madam Chairman and other commissioners, Mr. Hudson. My name is Ernie Lee. I'm the district attorney for Onslow, Sampson, Duplin, and Jones counties. I have 4 counties, but I can tell you I spend over half my time in Onslow County. The reason is we're a very, very busy county. I'm going to be very brief in my comments. First of all, my children keep texting me wanting to know when I'm going to come home, so I will be very brief. Look, I have confidence in the Board of Commissioners. I do have a lot of confidence in the Board of Commissioners because I've seen the type of building that you've done so far here in Onslow County. I told some of you ahead of time that I very much love this county. I love Jacksonville. And I've been very impressed with the building that's going on. And I have complete confidence in the county commissioners to build a building that will be reflective of what Onslow County truly is, a great county and great place to live. I also know that we need a building that's also going to be able to expand. In terms with what I mean by that is we have so many more cases coming in every year. Right now in Superior Court, I've told my prosecutors we must dispose of at least 2,000 felony cases every year in Superior Court to stay even. And that's what we do. We have about 40 jury trials a year. And we deal with everything from traffic violations all the way to capital murder. In fact, today I spent my first part this morning dealing with some traffic violations. And this afternoon before I left, or this evening before I left, I was dealing with a capital murder, dealing with the victim's family and that. So we deal with a lot of issues. And I would just hope that any building that is built would be reflective of Onslow County and the needs for the Register of Deeds, as well as the clerk's office, as well as the DA's office. We all want a building we can be proud of. Because as you very well know, many times the face of the legal system is going to be the DA's office, the clerk's office, the Register of Deeds. And that's where most of our citizens come to see. And we really want to be proud of Onslow County. I am very supportive of the efforts of the Onslow County Board of Commissioners with this project. I hope you would support it wholeheartedly, and I look forward to working with you in the future in this. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward and speak at this time? Okay. Mr. Manager, is the item for the resolution up for the board's decision?
Madam Chair, with no other individuals speaking before the board to provide information, the specific action requested was to receive information from the judicial system and the Board of Education. Following those presentations, to consider a possible motion to approve Resolution 15-17 entitled Progression of Necessary Capital Projects, inclusive of necessary project budget ordinances and reimbursement resolutions, and to authorize the chairman to sign the documents on behalf of the county.
What's the board's pleasure?
So moved.
I'll second that. Okay, I'll third it. All in favor say aye.
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 Passes unanimously. And I would like to say how pleased I am to see so many that have come forward tonight to speak. I know that this is a project that has been long needed from those early days. So thank you for coming and showing your support.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I'd like to make a comment, and one of the things is that you've all watched this building go up, and you've seen what this building is like. The gentleman sitting over there to our left, Jeff Hudson, this individual lives outside the box. He knows what you're going to need, and judges, I can tell you, he'll have it right. We've already seen drawings, temporary type drawings, I guess, are just pre-drawings. And I think that the security that Jeff has put into that building just for the parking for the judges and for the district attorney and staff is amazing. I know some of you might have seen the drawings and some of you have not probably, but I imagine Mr. Hudson will give you a chance to see that. But he has done a lot. And one other thing I wanted to bring to your attention is that the commissioners, way back when, it would have been my second term and Barbara's first term, we have to go back and thank a couple other people. Lionel Midget and Bill Keller, myself, W.C. Jarman, and Barbara were the first ones to come up with the CIP. And the CIP is where that came from those commissioners. It was our vision to do that, and then the vision came out with the Board of Education to do a CIP for the Board of Education on education money. That is so important to these commissioners, and the new commissioners are on staff now with us, back that 100%, and I want to share that with you.
Thank you. Mr. Vice Chair, any other comments?
I would just state that I got sworn in January 9th of this year, and it was amazing because I had an opportunity. Mr. Hudson took me to the courthouse, and I was very disappointed as a citizen and as a commissioner to see what the legal system was working with. I mean, it was shocking to me. So I'm very proud to say that we're at this point in time where we are all in agreement to see a new facility built, something that we can all be proud of as citizens of this county because of the important role that you play for the leadership of this community. It warrants all of this. So I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to be done, how it's going to look, and you certainly deserve all of it.
Thank you. Any other comment? I believe we passed that unanimously. Let's move forward.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Item H, contracts for professional services fees courthouse, was contingent upon the item G that you just talked about and voted on. Commissioners, Ms. Laura Jones, our purchasing director, is here to present this item. And I would like to say that we have progressed to be able to come to you with this item, knowing the dire straits that the court facilities have been in. And I would also like to thank the judges and staff for working with county staff in preparation of the items this evening. Ms. Jones.
Commissioners, as you are aware, the selection of an architect by statute is based off the firm's qualifications and their experience without regard to fee. This is unlike awarding a contract for a general contractor, which is done through a competitive bid process. So once you select the designer, the architect, that's when you negotiate a contract for their fees. A request for qualification was issued by the purchasing department to select an architectural firm for the construction of the new courthouse. The RFQ was announced as required by statute. Attached within your agenda, you will find a contract for Smith Sinnott Architecture in the amount of $1,320,436, which equates to approximately 8.41% of the project budget of the $15.7 million. According to the North Carolina State Construction Office, which I recently spoke to, these fees are comparable to projects of this size and the complexities of building a courthouse and other buildings involving with more complex things. Smith Sinnott has worked with the county on other projects and has a vast knowledge of the city's zoning requirements and permitting, and they're familiar with the county's requirements as well. Smith Sinnott is familiar with the site as they were assigned to oversee the demolition of the old jail, and that's where the new courthouse will be situated, so they're familiar with the site. And they recently completed a building analysis of the Summersill Courts building. Based off the firm's qualifications and their past work experience, it's respectfully requested that the board consider a contract for Smith Sinnott Architecture as the architectural firm for the professional design services. In addition, you'll find a contract for Nolan Consulting in the amount of $250,000 for construction management and consulting services for your consideration. And if approved, authorize the chairman of the board to execute the documents on behalf of the county. And I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay. What's the board's pleasure?
Laura, the Nolan Construction, were they the same ones for this building?
Yes.
Okay. That's all I want to know. I'll
Okay.
motion to approve.
I got a question now. Can you explain to to the public how we come up with Smith Senate as the architectural firm and how they got to the position to get the work awarded to them?
Sure. What we have to do by statute, like I had mentioned, you have to select them based off their qualifications. You can't even ask them for any fees or proposals, cost proposals, or anything. So we issued a request for qualifications requiring certain information like past experience, knowledge of this area, soil conditions, and things like that. The qualification packages are submitted, they're evaluated, and then that's when you negotiate a contract for their fees.
Now, is Dixon Middle School, is that the same firm?
We don't handle the selection of their architects, so I really can't answer that.
That would be Board of Education.
Steve just said yes.
Yes.
Okay.
The work they've done for us before, has it been satisfactory and,
Yes, it has.
oh, okay. That's all I
Any
have.
further?
I made a motion, I don't think we had a second.
I have a motion, I'll second that motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Manager, does that wrap up our business for tonight?
Yes, Madam Chair, that concludes item 5. Item 6, consent agenda items would be next.
Okay, because there's such legalities with all of the business that we covered tonight, are we sure we've dotted all the i's and crossed all the t's? Anything further?
No, ma'am, we have followed the attorney's recommendations, the bond counsel's recommendations precisely.
Okay.
There were certain things that the board had to specifically record into the record, certain motions that had to be made. And for instance, my very long recitation of the resolution was so that the entirety of the decision by the board is read into the record. So all of those things have been accomplished. And at this time, due to the actions of the board, the county may proceed immediately with work in design of a new courthouse facility, and we would make notice to the Board of Education tomorrow by letter to the superintendent that they may proceed with a new Richlands Elementary Replacement School.
Very well. Nothing was pulled from the consent agenda. This brings us to our second opportunity for the public to speak. At this time, it's a 5-minute segment. Do we have anyone signed up?
Madam Chair, there are no individuals that have signed up for the second public comment period.
Okay. Mr. Manager, would you like to have manager comments at this time?
Madam Chair, just a couple of comments. We do think about Ms. Moxley, and even though that she was not here tonight, Ms. Moxley had input on a lot of the agenda items, and the attorneys that she works with in the financial market, as far away as New York, which the county has to go through to issue financing. All of those individuals and Ms. Moxley have reviewed everything that was done this evening. Also, our thoughts are certainly with Commissioner Jarman, Ms. Trixie Jarman, and their family. I would like to thank members of the judiciary as well as the Board of Education. In every instance, especially with the court system, we have met multiple times, judges, you know, with both yourselves, members of the District Attorney's Office, and certainly our Register of Deeds and Clerk of Court. All of you have given us a lot of vital information. The information that the Vice Chairman referred to earlier were some early conceptual concepts, and those were necessary to determine an initial cost estimate. So just like this evening, earlier in the meeting, we had the Consolidated Human Services Project Budget Ordinance Amendment. We established back in April of 2014 that initial cost estimate for Consolidated Human Services. And once the bids come in, then you adjust that for the true numbers, because until the bids come in and you know the exact prices of furniture and equipment, in that case medical equipment, you don't have a precise number on exactly what that project budget has to be. Now, they're all called project budget ordinances, but basically, right now for both the courthouse and Richlands Elementary Replacement School, what we have are cost estimates. And they're the best that estimators can give us, but at the same time, until you actually go out for a bid and see how many contractors are willing to bid, and that has a lot to do with the bid market at the time. It also has to do with how hungry are the contractors? Then, not now. And how many other projects are being let for bid? And I'll tell you, in this area, we pay special attention to our military base. With the billions of construction dollars that the Marine Corps has spent in Onslow County, we want to be careful that we're not going out with a project the same day that Marine Corps Base Camp Lejeune has 32 bazillion square foot aircraft hangar or something. So we have to be careful. So this evening, what you have accomplished for the two new projects is that, well, first of all, the Consolidated Human Services, which is an existing project, and Dixon Middle and the Vehicle Maintenance Facility, the commissioners have allowed the county to move forward with the installment financing with that. Everything that this board does goes before the Local Government Commission in Raleigh. This county cannot spend money unless we have a financial plan to pay everything back. And in this case, our AA bond rating was established in part because of that capital improvement program and the capital reserves that the county instituted for general government in 2009 and for the public education in 2014. So with that plan in place, even though if you had done everything that you did tonight, if the Local Government Commission in Raleigh says, Onslow County, you're not financially sound, nothing you do as a county and as a Board of Commissioners would matter. They have the absolute authority to stop everything cold. But we know in talking with the Local Government Commission that Onslow County is in excellent financial health. We anticipate no problems going before now the Local Government Commission for Consolidated Human Services, Dixon Middle School, Vehicle Maintenance. Mr. David McCole, our Chief Financial Officer, who's in the audience, has had multiple conversations with the LGC, and we will now be scheduled to appear before them. With the two new projects, which include the Richlands Elementary School and the courthouse, this evening what the commissioners have done is set that initial cost estimate, and that cost estimate will stand until bids are received in on Richlands Elementary and bids are received in on the courthouse. At that time, you would be presented, just like you were this evening, with a project budget ordinance amendment, and we would true up the costs then. Also, there was a reimbursement resolution passed by the board. So what that means is, starting tomorrow, any monies spent by the Board of Education on design, Madam Chair, of the Richlands Elementary School, any monies that you expend for testing can be reimbursed through the installment financing that the county will pursue. And anything that we do as a county for testing of the property behind the Summersill building and then payment of the initial professional fees to the architects to actually go in now in earnest. And for those members of the judicial system that are here this evening, we would ask your continued cooperation. We will need to have many meetings with you, Your Honors, and district attorney and clerks and registrars, just to make sure that when we do this, we're doing it accurately. But now all of those funds that may be expended to truly design things can be reimbursed through the installment financing. So as of now, and as of tomorrow morning, Commissioners, you have cleared the way for these projects to commence. And we thank you for your support. We will be using a single prime construction method, and the gentleman that Ms. Laura Jones, our purchasing agent, referenced, I would like to mention Nolan Construction Consulting. Bill Nolan is an engineer, and Mr. Nolan works directly for the county. His sole job is bulldog, attack dog, and expert. We did not have that type of service years ago when the county built the Justice Center and the jail downtown. Basically, Mr. Nolan operates independently of any architects. He operates independently of the general contractor. He is not paid by them. He's paid by us. And he's there on the job frequently, and he's reviewing every document, every pay invoice, everything, to make sure that the county and the public's interests are protected, because we know that every dollar spent is a taxpayer dollar. So, Commissioners, with that, I would just like to say thank you very much for your guidance this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. At this time, we'll have Commissioner comments. Mr. Vice Chair, would you like to start off with comments
I
tonight?
just want to say thank everybody for being here and thank you for the support. I mean, it means a whole lot to us for the new school and a whole lot for the new courthouse. I'm like Judge Henry was saying a while ago, I was in the old courthouse or the new courthouse back in the 70s, like Judge Cameron was saying. Jack was too. Both of us have done a lot of cases back in those days. We want to thank everybody for being here and thank you for the support.
Thank you. Ms. Williams?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. If any of you haven't had the opportunity to see the new airport, please, by all means, even if you're not leaving on a flight, but go out and take a look and see what Onslow County has done. I'm telling you, you would be proud walking in that environment and looking to see what it looks like. I mean, it's breathtaking. It really is. And I would just like to read just one point from the talking points that we had to allow the public to know and to hear what's behind all of that. The project was funded by grants from the FAA's Airport Improvement Program, supplemented by NCDOT grants, passenger facility charges, and locally generated airport revenues. All of these sources are from user fees, and no local property or sales taxes were used to fund the project. And one last item here with the talking points, we have a 2012 economic impact study by the Institute for Transportation Research and Education and North Carolina Department of Transportation estimated that Albert J. Ellis Airport is responsible for approximately 340 local jobs and an annual economic impact of $191 million, $890,000, and it's approximately $3.5 million is generated in state and local taxes at the airport. So it's definitely economic impact and our profitability to this community. Please take a look at your new airport. It's absolutely gorgeous. And thank you, judges, for being here. Thank you, Madam Chair, School Board, and all the others that are in the audience. I'm glad that we as a community, we come together and we move forward to make Onslow County the economic engine and the beautiful community in which we live. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Mr. Bright?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to also thank the judicial system folks for being here tonight. I remember most of all of you when you weren't judges. You were just average citizens like me who worked together in the courthouse and had cases together and fought together and partied together and all the other things that go with that, including District Attorney Mr. Ernie Lee. Thank you all for coming. Becky, thank you for being here tonight. And Lisa Brown, thank you for being here in support tonight. And also the school board, Ms. Thomas and Earl Taylor, thank you for being here and giving your presentations tonight about the school and how desperately we need the school that's 90 years old and we need replacement for. The citizens from Sneads Ferry, I appreciate you folks taking the time out of your schedule to come tonight and speak about the Sneads Ferry plan. I know that's near and dear to all of us that's been here for in Onslow County, like me, my life, but like Barbara, most of her life. But it's good that we have the citizens of the community come and put time in and put wants and desires together. And I hope, Mr. Manager, that we allow those judges to take part in the planning of and design of that courthouse, so we cross all the T's and dot all the I's, because you can leave a few little things out that may be very critical, but you don't think about it unless you're actually there where you're at. The DSS building, we have tarps over the computers when it rains over there. The roof leaks. We spent tons of money on computers, spent tons of money on repairs and keeping our people safe and healthy. So it's about time that we get a new DSS building. And I was born in that old hospital over there where the health department is. I don't know what year it was that it was built, but it's got a lot of history too, and we have spent a ton of money on putting the bricks back together and polishing that up. And I thank Miss Angela Lee for getting us through the accreditation and getting that building up to snuff for the accreditation that was required last year. A lot of credit goes to you and your staff for getting that. Other than that, thank you folks for coming tonight. It's been a long meeting, but I appreciate you being here in support of your particular situation. And thank you, Madam Chair, for the opportunity to speak.
You're welcome, Mr. Bright. I'm not going to belabor the thank yous. I believe everybody here realizes how important these projects are to this board. And I would like to say to the citizens of Onslow County, have faith in your elected officials. We have your best interest at heart. We have plans. We have very conservative budgeting practices here. But that doesn't mean that we can't move this county forward. And tonight, we've taken a big step to do so. With no further comments, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. We're adjourned.